Hello everyone. Today we will be reading Salt in His Shoes, Michael Jordan in Pursuit of a Dream. This is by Michael Jordan's mother and his aunt, story of his life. Michael loved to play basketball. Every Saturday he followed his older brothers, Larry and Ronnie, to the park, hoping that they would let him play. And if one of the guys who usually played didn't show up, his brothers always did. But there was one problem. His name was Mark, the tallest boy on the court. "What's the matter, Mikey? Too short?" Mark flapped his arms in Michael's face. Over here," shouted Larry. But when Michael threw the ball, Mark's long arms came out of nowhere and knocked the ball away. The ball flew into the hands of a player on Mark's team, and he made the basket. The game was over, just like that. If I were taller, that wouldn't have happened. All the way home, Michael apologized, even though no one was mad at him. His oldest brother, Ronnie, tried to cheer him up. "Look, little brother, you played good today. Don't worry, we'll win next time." When they got home, Michael went into the kitchen where his mother was cooking dinner. He was still disappointed, and she could tell. "You guys lost again today, huh?" Michael nodded. He sat quiet for a minute, then said, "Mama, how can I grow taller?" Now, Mama knew the answer to a lot of questions, but this was a tough one. She thought for a moment as she sprinkled salt and pepper onto the chicken she was making for dinner. Then she smiled, looked at Michael, and said, "Salt? Salt?" Michael looked at his mama and said, "Where would you put salt?" "Salt in your shoes, of course. We'll put salt in your shoes, say a prayer every night, and before you know it, you'll be taller." Michael, "Salt in my shoes?" said to himself quickly. Surely Mama was teasing. He stared out the window, trying to figure out how salt was going to help him grow. He then noticed rose bushes outside in Mama's garden. They had grown high along the fence, and roses covered the side of the window. He thought to himself, "I remember when Mama first planted those bushes." Michael's face lit up. If Mama knows how to make the bushes grow tall, maybe she's right. Maybe salt in my shoes will really help me grow. Growing more excited, Michael twirled around asking lots of questions. "Mama, how long will it take? How tall do you think I'll get?" Smiling, Mama sat down next to him and explained, "In order for this to work, the most important things you have to do are be patient and listen to what I tell you, and say your prayers every night." Listening carefully, Michael shook his head. "Okay, Mama, I'll be patient. What did you have to say in your prayers?" "Everything. Everything," he replied. Mama said, "Now go upstairs and wash up, tell your brothers and sisters to get ready for dinner." Michael dashed out of the kitchen, almost knocking into his father, who was walking in from work. "What's he up to now?" asked Daddy. "Oh, the usual," laughed Mama, chasing a dream. Later during dinner, Mama noticed that Michael was barely eating anything. He was already daydreaming about being taller. "Michael, first things first, you won't grow if you don't eat, especially your vegetables," Mama said. "But I'm not really hungry," he said. Raising her eyebrows, Mama gave him a stern look. Slowly, Mama watched Michael pick up his fork and begin to eat. Minutes later, the plate was clean and he was asking for more. That evening at bedtime, Michael sat his favorite game shoes on the floor next to a growth chart. Then he put his pajamas on, said his prayers, and jumped into bed. When Mama came in, Michael was fast asleep. By the look on his face, she could tell he was already playing basketball in his dreams. Standing by his bed, Mama sprinkled salt in his shoes. Then she prayed quietly over him as well as to her other children. "Dear God, please help Michael be the best he can be and give his best in all he does. And Lord, can you please make him just a little bit taller tomorrow than he is today? Thank you. Amen." After that night, Michael wore his favorite game shoes everywhere he went, even to church. He then stopped going to the park with his brothers on Saturdays. Instead, he stayed home and practiced and practiced. He wanted to grow a few more inches before he went back to the park. After 2 months of practicing and waiting patiently and praying, Michael stood next to the growth chart on his wall. Nothing had happened. He hadn't grown an inch. He was very disappointed, but he did not stop believing. "I've got to give it more time, like Mama said," Michael said, thinking to himself. 2 more months of practicing went by and still nothing. Now Michael was becoming a little sad. Not only had he not grown 1 inch, but he was also missing time playing basketball with Larry and Ronnie. About the only thing he didn't miss was being picked on by Mark. When the next Saturday came, his brothers tried to get Michael to go back to the park with them, but he would not budge. Mama had begun to worry when Michael was sitting alone on the steps and said to Daddy, "Maybe you should go out front and talk to him," said Mama. So Daddy went out, sat with Michael, and asked, "What's wrong, son? You haven't gone to the park with your older brothers in a while now. Are you okay?" Michael didn't say anything at first. Then he looked at Daddy and said, "I thought I would be at least a few inches taller by now. I did everything Mama told me to do and nothing's happened." "Michael, why do you want to be taller?" asked Daddy. "If I were taller, I'd be a great player, and it could help our team win." "But you are a great player, son, and you already have everything it takes to be a winner right here." Daddy tapped Michael on his chest. "Being taller may help you be a better player, but not as much as practice, determination, and giving your best. Those are things that make a real winner." Michael thought about what Daddy said for a minute. Then suddenly, he jumped off the steps and took off. Daddy yelled, "Where are you going?" "I've got a game to get to. I'm late," Michael yelled back. When Michael reached the park, the game had already started. He sat on the bench hoping he would get a chance to play, and he did. The game was almost over and the score was tied. When John, one of the guys on Michael's team, fell down, Michael had his chance. Michael joined his team in the huddle as they gathered on the sideline for a timeout. "Okay, the game is tied. All we need is 1 point. Who wants to take the shot?" Ronnie asked. He looked at Michael. Feeling more confident than ever, Michael said, "I'm going to do it." When the whistle blew and the game began, Mark began to pick on Michael as usual. "Still trying to play with the big boys, huh?" Mark taunted. But Michael paid no attention to him. Taller or not, he had been practicing, and he was determined to win that day. Larry threw the ball inbounds to Michael. He caught it, bounced it for a moment, then took off running. As he approached Mark, Michael shifted to his right. Mark followed, but while shifting, Michael spun to his left. He stepped behind Mark and shot. The ball arced far over his opponent's hands and fell slightly to the right, directly into the hoop. 2 points. The game was over. Michael's team had won. It was just as Michael dreamed. When he realized what he had done, Michael took off running and screaming and didn't stop until he reached home. Bursting through the door, he shouted, I did it, Daddy. I shot it right over the tall guy's head and we won the game." Running in behind him, Ronnie and Larry joined the celebration. "That's right, little brother, you did it. You won the game for us." Michael remembered the look that Ronnie gave him during that last time out and said, "No, we won, but I was the star." They all laughed. Did not stop being patient and working hard while he was playing basketball. So that must be what made Michael grow to a 6'6" basketball superstar. That's our conclusion to Salt in His Shoes by Michael Jordan's mother, Deloris.